webinar is on the topic Changing Consumption Models, Opportunities and Challenges for Designer and Luxury Brands. The discussion would be on how designer and luxury brands in India look at the opportunities and challenges that they face in the immediate future and from a medium to long-term perspective. Let us welcome our esteemed speakers and of the day.
You know, Usha, the best thing that, one positive thing I would say that the pandemic has done is get all the CEOs and the designers find some time to talk to us. Otherwise, it was so difficult to get them even for a half an hour session with everyone earlier. So I welcome all of you here and I really thank you for being here today on the webinar with us as a panel. I'll quickly take you through the introduction. Mr. Sati, the Managing Director, Da Milano, believes in enduring what you love and the rest automatically falls in place. After his degree from NIFT New Delhi, he went to the London School of Economics for a marketing management degree. He ventured into the family business when it was a 2 retail store show in Delhi. Building a brand, sustaining it, making it robust on the pillars of impeccable product quality and passionate service has been the role that he has unflinchingly executed over the years. Rosso Brunello, the footwear brand launched in 2010, positioned in the bridge to the luxury segment, provides a tailored fashion footwear for men and women. They've also forayed into the Da Milano Homes, which is for leather accessories and home accessories and furniture. Mr. Malik has been awarded with various entrepreneurial awards and accolades and was a part of Champions for Change initiative of the Indian government.
Taking you forward, we have Mr. Puneet Mangla, founder of Verona. A man with a vision, the managing director of Orion Commerce and the founder of the brand Verona. Mr. Mangla is a very well-known face in the leather industry for more than 25 years. Verona literally means to stoop. It means placing together the story of skill, knowledge, precision, passion, and love. The range of apparel, bags, and accessories at Verona are a confluence of human skill and expert machine engineering. The brand is a sheer balance of form, function, aesthetics, quality, and individuality, where each product blends seamlessly into the lives of the wearer. We also have Ms. Pratima Pandey, founder designer Prama, a NIFT alumnus and winner of Razia Young Awards in 2000, the category of eco-friendly fashion, handloom, handcrafted. That is how she describes her label and her work that lays emphasis on natural fabric, indigenous embroidery techniques, thereby encouraging craftsmanship and sustainability. We have Mrs. Shivan Bhatia, head designer Shivan and Naresh. Another NIFT alumnus, Shivan Bhatia is the head designer for India's first holiday brand, Shivan and Naresh. Apart from being featured in Forbes 30 Under 30 and ELLE's India Powerless and many awards under his belt, he has dressed many celebrated personalities across the globe that include Beyonce, Oprah, Priyanka Chopra, Kajol, Shilpa Shetty, and many others.
I now take you to Mr. Shani Himanshu, founder of 1111, another NIFT alumnus, with quite a few awards under his belt, including a part scholarship for the Masters at the Domus Academy in 2002. In 2003, Himanshu started the Cell Design, and in 2009, Himanshu went on to launch 1111 brand based on the principle of Khadi Way, which works on the principle of seed to stitch narrative, which traces the origin of the product from cotton to the final maker. In 2015, he also launched Cora Jeans, a custom-fitted denim brand. Mr. Jatin J, yet another Niftian, a fashion and a lifestyle blogger, Jatin started his career with Titan Industries as a visual merchandiser. After a successful stint in the retail sector, he went on to join the e-commerce Myntra brand as stylist and started his own blog simultaneously, making a notable place for himself in the industry. He started a new journey last year with the television series, a reality show, Mintra Fashion Superstar. We welcome all of you. And I think, Usha, we are good to go with the discussion.
Yeah. So we will start the panel discussion with a few thoughts. Sahil, I would put my first discussion point to you. McKinsey talks of the four forces shaping the next normal. One of them is metamorphosis of demand. In their key insights, they have also pointed that the outbreak may affect consumers' thinking. So, what we would like to hear from you, Sahil, is how do you think the luxury sector is looking at the changing consumption patterns? Over to you, Sahil. Sahil, you will have to unmute.
Thank you, everyone. There is no denying that there is going to be a new normal. We've last 3 months have been, we all have been under a big lockdown, and now fortunately things are improving. Malls and marketplaces have started to open. We don't have, of course, the footfalls does not match to what we've been having pre-COVID, but the trend, the graph seems to be improving on a daily basis, and we see we opened most of our stores in first early June, and we are seeing we are now about 30% of last year, and this we started from 10%, 30%. Some locations are already 40-50% of last year. So it's a very encouraging sign despite of cases increasing. And so how I look at it is that definitely it's going to be a new normal. People would come out with more safety, more safety gears, and it would just be part of our lifestyle on a daily basis. Wearing mask would be a normal thing, and sanitizing yourself is going to be a new normal, definitely for at least 1 year, I feel. um, though the footfalls are low, we are what I see is that there is a trend in there's a change in customers buying pattern. There are the people customers are calling us, telling us that we want to get home delivery done. We need People are coming, taking prior appointments to the stores so that there's no other customer walking to the store. There's a lot of sale happening over video calling, where our people are trying to showcase the products on video calls and all that. There is a lot of demand for casual wear, lounge wear, accessories, of course, because there are no sizes and you can just pick off from the shelf, and it's easy to buy. But I see formal wear to take some time to grow, to come back, because I think work from home is sort of paving way to casual wear and lounge wear. So ready to wear and made to measure will take some more time to get back. But sentiments are good because human beings are born ambitious and aspirational, and we all want to get back to our social lifestyles and social and but because of the social distancing norms, we have been locked down, and we've been sort of closed. We've been in our houses, homes. We've not been meeting anyone. So everybody is looking for a happiness feeling, and luxury is something which makes you. So if you purchase some luxurious product, you it makes you it gives you a different level of satisfaction, and brings that happiness feeling. And I think that is what we all are looking at this point of time. And so, and this will soon become history and past. And we will come back to our really, like, a very strongly. And the demand, as I said, from a 10% when we started, has gone to 50% in some cities, which is definitely showing signs that we will be back, hopefully by next quarter, first quarter, by beginning of the first next quarter.
Wonderful. That's a very positive sign that you've shown and you've spoken about.
Yeah.
In April, when the lockdown ended in China, a very high-end luxury brand reopened its flagship store and actually recorded a sale of $2.7 million in a single day.
Yeah.
So this was called as a phenomenon of revenge spending. So do you think something of this will be replicated in India as well? Do you see that happening?
Well, this is, I think, is one of the cases, but not like a pattern by and large. You know, luxury will be will recover much more faster than any of the mass product. I personally feel luxury will bounce back much more faster. But we can't take that as a precedent that, you know, it will happen. The same will happen in India, according to we know. But then yes, it will. There is a pent up demand. We are observing in a lot of stores, in a lot of other brands. I've been noticing there is a pent up demand as people have saved a lot of money from last 3-4 months. There is a time when people are now moving out, and people have missed a lot of family functions like your birthdays and anniversaries, and you know. So I think this is also this pent up demand is also coming out from here, because people have missed meeting each other. So now they want to come do gifting, and I personally feel accessories is one thing, one product which everybody is easy to gift. It's more impulsive. So there is a pent up demand for sure, you know, and this will remain for a limited period. And again, coming back that businesses are back to 40-50%, which is a good sign. And as a fact that millennials are always aspiring, and they earn and they want to burn the same time. Without blinking an eye. So I feel that this will really bounce back very, very soon.
We read.
And luxury gives a feeling of happiness, and you know, so when you buy something of that level, you want to. So there is overall there's a pent up demand which will be there for at least 1 month.
So true. Thank you so much. And you know, the students, they really want to know from you, what should be the soft traits and the skill set that you look for when a student joins as a designer for a brand like yours?
So, firstly, I would say that there is an opportunity in front of us. Our vision of our Prime Minister of making self-reliant, making self-sustainable is and will and if you look at the population and the consumption of our country is unmatchable. There is a huge opportunity which I feel is there. The pause that we have seen is now going to be will give way to the bigger, much faster pace in the coming future. Message to the designers: I personally feel that, you know, they need to collaborate their design sensibilities. We've got a fantastic talent in the country. Design sensibilities are amazing. All we need to do is collaborate the design sensibilities with the from a commercial point of view, where a good design is if it sells well, it's a good design. But if it's a good design but doesn't sell, it makes no sense. So the commercial aspect needs to be in the mind of of today's day designers, that anything that they make should be acceptable by their audience, and at a price which it demands. So I feel that's what is most important, is to collaborate from a design and a commercial thought process.
Thank you, Sahil, for the insightful message that you've given our students. I'm sure they would have listened to what you said with a lot of interest. I would now like to invite Mr. Puneet Mangla from Perona for his insights. Perona is very new and highly aspirational, and in Chanakya, you can't miss the store. It's quite prominent there. The luxury industry has proved capable of reinvention. We're confident that the sector's long-term potential, about the sector's long-term potential. But in the immediate future, some brands will emerge from the crisis stronger, while we think that others will struggle to preserve the integrity of their business. Much will depend on their ability to respond in the short term with related to the COVID scenario, while simultaneously they plan and execute for the future. So what I would like to know from you, Mr. Mangla, is according to you, how will this, the COVID and the fallout impact the luxury sector in India?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So interesting question. I'm going to take it in two parts, this question. And the first part of your question in your introduction was that you feel that the luxury has kind of evolved and invented itself. Am I correct?
And potential to reinvent itself.
Yeah. So I'll spend a few minutes trying to share my thoughts on that. I feel, in fact, that the luxury sector has grown over the last many years, but not necessarily reinvented itself. So the way we see the luxury and the brands that occupy the luxury space is probably the same way my father saw them, and maybe my grandfather saw them. So that has pretty much remained a forte and a space occupied by certain brands, and that is the way luxury has been defined, and that is how we have grown accepting luxury to be. So what I feel is that this pandemic might trigger a change in how we look at luxury, and how this luxury space might see some transformation happening through this COVID era. So if you look at the present day consumer, the present day consumer is not only buying into a product. It is buying into a brand story, the values and ethics of the brand, and exactly what the brand stands for. So it's a whole package then, rather than just buying into a product. And what the luxury brands need to kind of study is that whether they are aligned to the present day consumer in terms of its needs of what the brand's ethics and values they are searching for, and what kind of brand story that they wish to follow. So that is one thing that the brands might need to luxury brands might need to kind of relook and reinvent themselves to the present day, rather than looking at only at legacy. The second thing is that I feel that today's consumer is far more educated. They have got many more options. They have got tools and information to compare those options and make thoughtful purchases. So again, what I see is post-pandemic, the consumer is going to question each and every decision that he or she makes, rather than make a decision as a part of what do you call legacy, or a part of some heritage. So they will question each and every decision. And this pandemic period of lockdown, I think a lot of people have deep dived into studying what they really consume. So this is going to impact our luxury sector also. People are going to question what they're consuming. So the luxury, in my view, stands for perfection in product and experience. And the product is defined by starting from design to manufacturing to materials that we use, and how it is finally executed in the final form of a product. And then how you deliver the product, whether it is in store or virtually, and how you communicate the product. So the consumer is going to get more and more demanding for perfection in all vectors and dimensions of their product. And then at the same time, would like to pay the real prices, will not want to pay a huge premium for someone's legacy. They want the real value. So I do see that the change is there's always a trigger, and there is going to be a process of change. But I do see that change has been happening silently for the last 10 years. But this pandemic might trigger that to a faster pace. So I'm sorry I took a bit of time to address that part of the thing, though that was not really a question.
The tipping point, the pandemic.
So, and then you've asked me that how do you see that impacting the luxury sector in India? Am I correct?
Yes, yes.
So, number one, this pandemic is impacting. What we have to understand is there's nothing local about this pandemic. It's a global phenomena. So it is impacting the world. Is impacting each and every person. The only person that I know who's not got impacted severely is Jeff Bezos. Who apart from that, I think everyone else is severely impacted by this pandemic. And I would rather look at it on a global basis rather than just an India basis, that how the pandemic will affect the luxury sector as a whole. So when I started this brand Corona 2 years back, and what we were doing before that, we saw that the industry had the retail uh, landscape was divided in a structure, a predefined structure. And so there was a brand which was called a mass brand. There was a high street brand. There was a premium brand. There was bridge to luxury, affordable luxury, then super luxury. So there was a structure, and then you were required to fit into a structure. So what are you? Like people would ask me, what are you? Are you premium? Or are you luxury? Or are you bridge to luxury? Are you affordable luxury? And that question was kind of confusing because the only vector that they were addressing was price in that. Price determined whether you were mass, whether you were premium. But brands are not built by that vector of price. There's far more embodiment of many more dimensions to it. And price is a final result of trying to deliver the brand values. So I found the entire model to be lopsided. And what I see now, the pandemic is probably going to highlight the redundancy and the irrelevance of that model as per today's time. So, so what happens is when we create these structures, they also create monopolies. So you occupy a space of luxury, you have a monopoly of that space. So there are 20 brands which occupy that space, they have the monopoly, or XYZ or some other structure. I think that is going to go, and the consumers are not going to be that much driven by the structures which are created by the industry overall, and they will look for, again, as I said, real values. They will be driven by their needs and desires, whether it is a price need, whether it is a quality need, or it's a balance. What kind of balance they look for, what kind of design aesthetics they look for. So these structures which were formed earlier for decades and decades are probably going to become more loose and more irrelevant. The second thing which I feel is that the luxury by its own definition will change. So the dimensions which define luxury till now might have been actually changing. And as I say, what I see is that these adversities are not, people tell me that the world is changing. And my argument is that world was already changing because there's nothing, a change typically happens with a discovery or an invention. In 2 months, there's no great invention or discovery which has taken place. So all the things that we are experiencing today already existed, including the video conferencing that we are doing today existed. The only thing we are using it today, we are embracing that change to a greater extent. There were many changes that took place in the last 20 years that we were not embracing that change, and today we are compelled by the circumstances to embrace that change. So the luxury space has also been changing, but that change has truly not been embraced either both by the consumer or by the brands. But the dimensions that define luxury will change. Today, there are dimensions like sustainability, which started coming in the world about 10-15 years back itself, but in many ways they were superficial, even in the execution. Today, people will be looking at them deeper and seeing the real value, whether they are just marketing words being used, or is there truly sustainable product that the brand is offering. And similarly, there will be other other aspects like form and function. Function will become more important. People are seeing that they want to wear something, whether the piece is timeless or it just goes out of fashion and you have to throw it up every 6 months. So there are many aspects which are going to change going forward, which have been happening. But the last 2-3 months of sitting at home and the world seeing an economic meltdown and having people to kind of think deeper, I think this change is going to become more profound. So these are the two main things that I see as change in the luxury.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mangla. This was really insightful. And, your redefining of luxury and the entire thing of that, the dimension of the luxury sector or the mindset change that the industry is now going to go with is definitely going to impact the consumption patterns among the people. That I think is definitely bound to happen. While you were talking, I was just thinking, in 2 months' time, you said there aren't much changes that have happened, which is rightly said. But one thing that has happened is that the perception towards China has changed.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you see any kind of impact happening on the luxury sector in India with regard to the change in the perception of China globally?
Yes, I definitely see this as a huge opportunity for India. So as you know that the other side of our business is manufacturing exports, and we have been doing that for the last 28 years. So what we felt in our journey as a company doing manufacturing, that we had evolved tremendously in our quality and product offering in the last 10 years. But when we approach luxury brands, they recognize the quality to be very superior, comparable to any European manufacturer if they desire to get that quality and pay for the right material and everything. But people didn't want made in India label. The made in India label was something that did not synergize with their brand values, and because India did not offer that image of quality and excellence, and that's a reality that we have to face. So a lot of their manufacturing had started happening in China. So a lot of luxury brands are producing at this time in China. What this current anti-China sentiment is doing is that what I think will do is that all these brands will be far more open now to look at made in India too. So there is definitely an opportunity, but the question is who will rise to this opportunity? So opportunity is that business will potentially move away from India. Whether we capture it, that is yet to see. So if we improve our product quality, because the opportunity we can capture only getting to our performance up. We should be able to give the required quality, the required on-time delivery, have the full aesthetic sense of creating the full product, and the brand should be confident that we are able to safeguard their brand pillars while when they give us the responsibility to manufacture the products.
Right. So our fingers crossed. Let's hope that lots of business comes to India as well.
Yeah.
You said that you are also, and we all know that you're also the managing director of Orion Conmarks. Mm-hmm. Now here, there are many students who are actually wanting to know what would be the job scenario like in near future? Like, by when will the industry be ready to offer jobs to the students who are graduating this year? What do you think is going to be the scenario now?
So the first thing is that when an adversity like this hits us, which has got no precedence, one has to face the adversity with eyes open, and so one has to understand that this pandemic is impacting the world in the most severe way that anyone would have experienced in our living lives, and that impact is real and is going to be there. So if I say that वो impact नहीं रहेगा, will not be there, that is not the right message that I wish to convey to the young students. So, but definitely all adversities get over. So the world has been, we have faced many adversities as a world, like World War I, World War II, and you name it. So there are a number of adversities which have come. So all adversities will be over. And so what one has to focus is that how we're going to sail through this adversity, and then when the adversity is over, do we come out wrecked from it, or we come out stronger? So the journey then becomes, when we know that the external factors are not in our control, the journey then becomes a largely very internal. How we deal with that situation, how we define our new normal. So if we expect in this time period to have the normalcy come back in a short-term manner, it's not going to happen. So what we in our company are doing at this time, and because we are also impacted, if we are probably at 30-40% of our production what we were probably at the same time last year, and if we reach 50%, then it's a good number. If we reach 60 number, it's a fantastic. 60% is a fantastic number. But degrowth of 30-40% is huge. So what is it is a difficult question what you have asked me, and I want to give you an honest answer to the students here. We look for opportunities and adversities. So every adversity brings opportunities, and then what opportunities that people could use is upskill themselves in various ways. And the upskilling can happen either by taking courses, use this time to further educate yourself, and upskill yourself by taking internships in areas that you think truly are your interest, and master that skill that you truly want to pursue in your long-term career. It also gives you time to become experimental, to see the options that you really want to follow after this. So one has to embrace this situation as a new normal, which is going to exist for about a year. It is not till the industry. There's a economic downturn. There's a GDP shrinkage which is happening on a global basis. So it is impacting everyone. But find your own ways. There are always opportunities in every adversity. And that is how you get yourself into a positive state of mind, by hunting for opportunities in adversities. And the game should be to how to come out stronger from the adversity rather than come out weaker. And there can be multiple ways to do that.
Thank you so much. I'm sure our students who are listening to you would be definitely thinking in in such a positive manner. Continuing with the dialogue, I now invite Pratima. Pratima, for all of us, this pandemic has, awakened reflections, provided an opportunity of doing things differently. As the world turns cautiously towards reopening, the fashion industry has also got some soul searching to do and rethink some of its fundamental questions. You have worked with the craft, with Indian handicrafts, with Indian textile crafts, and the handloom sector quite a bit. What, according to you, should the legacy of the Indian fashion and luxury sector post-COVID be? What do you think would be the opportunities in the immediate post-COVID scenario and for a medium to long-term situation? And how do you think these opportunities could be leveraged by these brands?
Actually, first we have to understand we are in a situation of something we've never seen, and it's COVID. So, what have we learned from, we've been in a situation of lockdown for past 2-3 months now. And I think the first thing, everybody learns is the fact that we can do with little around us. And it's okay not to have a lot of things, and it's okay that we are without a lot of things, and we are with our loved ones, and with few things around, and we can still celebrate life and be happy. So I think that's one perspective I think we've never experienced to begin with. I think from there, uh, and I think also the fact that what's around is what you make most of. So putting that same experience into a sort of a more wider sort of business scenario is the fact that I think local is what we need to look at. And I have been working very closely with the weavers and handloom. I think instead of really looking at the whole world and the opportunities around, I think we have to look inwards and look at the opportunities just around us, right around the corner. Not only the big cities as a designer, we should really target at the two tiers, even going deeper, making sure that the work is done in the village level, and we are selling around. So the fact of the matter is, a more inclusive approach, and India has it all. I think the beauty about this situation is realize that, I think I realize that the fact that what we've been doing is just that we need to sort of now start focusing somewhere else, which we've been really trying to make sure that we go international, try and sell abroad, try and go out there and sell our handloom. I think we need to really come back and look at the things that we can just celebrate it right here. And the beauty is that we don't have to educate a lot of people. It's just that how we package and tell the stories, retell our stories to the people who already know. Just do that. So also what I felt from we have a huge legacy. We just have it, and it's just that, like, I've been working with Chanderi, one sector for over a decade now. And I felt that only when you stick to one textile is where you can do really justice to it. And, make a sustainable sort of a model. And then once you've done it, apply that same sustainable model in different sort of sectors. So now, overall, what I realized is that being at home, you're always on the net, and we need to tell stories through this new platform, which apparently most of us were not, because we do handloom, handcrafted. There's a lot of tactile quality. It needs to be touched, felt, emotional. There are a lot of things that we really believe in doing it through the tactile, way. But now the new way is online. So just to go global, just to go even within India, and I don't see the situation getting better very soon. So we need to go online and tell our stories and go out there. So that whole sort of physical and not physical, and yet, so what I realized from the past 2 months, we've been having good sales, and I was wondering why. And it was only the people who've been buying a Prama has been buying a Prama again. It's just that they've already had the experience of buying you. They're buying you again. So now, how do we take that whole sort of experience to a new audience? And so I think the online sort of would be a very, very important and I think most of the people have started learning, like, I would never do this sort of webinar ever now that I'm here sitting and experiencing and doing so many webinars. So see, and I think the situation pushes you to a corner where you need to learn and you need to figure out. So that's for one. Also that I think, both the other speakers have already addressed the point that not only a brand, now people are going to buy a brand with a sort of price sensitive thing. They're going to buy out stories. What are the stories you're telling? Is there a sort of, is the brand more sensitive to a larger sort of perspective? Not only just selling clothes, it's no more selling clothes. It's, the minute you say it's handloom, handcrafted, there is a story, there's that whole audience, the new consumer is looking out for that as well. And in this whole time, I think we've emotionally gone through a lot. that which we never really bothered. I think it was there, but people were talking about sustainable clothing. There was a lot of sort of, we got pushed into it, we came back, but now is the time that, they had all the time in the world to really look at things. So now I think uh, price is very important, what you're making with, nobody's going to, like he said, Mr. Mangla, that nobody's going to buy that extra premium. They're going to buy premium stuff, but at a price which they feel is, uh, they're getting value out of the price that they're paying for. So that again is sort of, I feel, a very important point to look at. Also, like going green, that 3 R's that, whether the brand is actually practicing that, they're making, reducing the global footprints in whatever practices they are doing. They're also reusing as much as possible, and also recycling wherever they can. So, these are things that, if somebody is buying you out, will want to listen to these stories, that are you practicing. It's just not a brand doing what they're doing. They're buying sort of that whole package. Also, the fact that there's this very sort of duality that is going on, that what should we do, should we just buy, or we shouldn't buy. But the new luxury is buying out something which has a value attached, and which is also sort of, it has a legacy so attached to it. So yeah, I think pretty much I would say these are the points that I feel are important for a brand to really address. And handloom, handcraft is, I feel, the new luxury. And it is going to be that. The more lives you touch in the process of making something is what I think India should become the leader in celebrating that. It's no more just having 100 pieces in your wardrobe. It should be 1 or 2 pieces, but priceless pieces, and which are storytelling, at the same time, and add value to you. So, I think this is the new normal for me in terms of luxury. Yeah.
It was a sheer delight to hear you, Pratima. Redefining of strategies, changing in mindset, we've already discussed about it, and re-romancing the handloom, or reintroducing it back to our own Indians is some of the key tips that you've spoken about. Now, among our students, there are very many students who would be looking at joining the craft sector this year as young entrepreneurs, or they had plans already to start up on their own this year in the craft sector. So would you give some kind of tips to them, some real-time activities? What should they be looking at if they are hoping to start a venture this year? And do you agree or not agree? That is also very important, whether this is the right year to venture out or not.
To be honest, try and leave this year aside. I think, what Mr. Mangla said is right. Try and use this time to educate yourself. Try and if you're getting into a craft, get sensitized to it. Go visit. I mean, I'm sure if you can visit, great. If you can't, just study about it. Study the history. We have so much more than what we know being offered to us. And it's just that I think more and more people should choose handloom and handcrafted, especially in India. There are so many dying crafts which I think they need addressing. So, also the point is now, if you really have to stay, you have to give something really drastic to the sort of industry. Give us something new that we want to take. Which, if you're doing something which anybody else is already doing, I think gone are those days. People are not looking at that anymore. So even if you pick up a craft, try and celebrate it in your way. Have a language that which people want to listen to, and have a strong story to tell, So, really know what you're doing. I think if you want to get into handloom, try and know the difference between handloom, both the looms that we have, the jacquards and dobbies, and, try and practice it, try and know about it. You really have to dig deep. And if you're just on the superficial level, I don't think so it's going to be easy to stay. Only when you are really, you really know the craft very well, and only then can you survive, because I think with time it's going to get tougher, it's not going to get easier. And I think most of the brands who are surviving are brands which has something really drastic to offer, so the rest will it's going to get even more tougher to stay. So I think use this time to really know. I think the first is go back and talk to your grandmoms. If you really have to start, go as basic as that. Talk to them, and and like I am from Madhya Pradesh, so I have picked up a craft which is very close to where I come from. I'm from Riva, and Chanderi is very close from Riva. So the fact that it came very naturally to me, and we've been always seeing your own people wear it, and then you started sort of discovering the fact that how can I package it nice. So it's not necessarily, but it has to be passion behind whatever you choose. It cannot be just I want to be a designer and I want to choose craft and then I want to do it. No, it cannot be that anymore. So I think just know what you're doing. And I think most of the students have to know that very categorically now. And if you can't see that passion, be with the person who is addressing that passion, and then get along. There are a lot of people who can't see the bigger picture, and but yes, they love that. So they get attached. So that collaborations that Sahil was talking about, I think that is also a great idea, So the point is channelizing all that energies, all that knowledge into a sort of a stream where you are contributing in the right way, not just being there, So I think these things, it's more soulful. Now it's not going to be just like that. It is going to be more emotional, more soulful, more passion, and more of celebrating being an Indian, and celebrating the crafts that we have. And it's just that it's been too many years that we've been ignoring this. And I think see the silver lining in the whole pandemic. This is thing that now we started looking back into what we as India can offer and the world to watch. And you become champions of this. I think we need to do that. And students are the new bright minds who can really do that. Just know your skill and get into the area of that. And I mean, if you can voice it very beautifully, get into the PR of crafts, So if you're great with design, get into but understand the craft before getting into design. You cannot disrupt the craft to really make something new out of it. It cannot be just used as a technique. It cannot lose the soul. It has to. It's just enjoying the sort of process and packaging it so beautifully for us to really relate to. I think the relation is going away somewhere. It's getting lost in the process. But that has to come back. Sometimes you don't have to say it's handloom, handcrafted. It has to be so beautiful and so so you really want to buy it out. So it should be that, and then you say thank you for buying a handloom, or a handcrafted stuff. That should be the latter scenario. It should not be like we're not. I think we see craft as bichara. I think most of the people see it as that, and which I feel no, it's something that's it has to come out with a lot of pride and sort of celebrate it. So in the process, just know what you're doing and be sure of it.
Thank you, Pratima. That was a very good advice for our students. And I think those of them who are all of them who are here listening to you, they would definitely be taking it on board. This brings me, I now call upon Shivan. Shivan has been a very enthusiastic right from his student days. And he's made use of any and every opportunity coming his way. So I'm sure as a brand, the two of them, Shivan and Naresh, would have already planned out a strategy to combat the post-COVID scenario. So Shivan, malls are shut, stores are closed. The fashion industry as a whole came together to support the cause of staying indoors, yet not lose touch with their end consumers on social media. Retail is reinventing itself and started investing much more in the e-commerce details. So what according to you, how according to you would you say the luxury and designer brands should now strategize for the new consumer attitudes?
Honestly, I feel the consumer pattern will bounce back. We just have to stay put. We, as Pratima said, just realize we can do with little, and it's amazing how I have been for the last 3 months staying put, taking it easy. It will be the same, I feel, for next 5-6 months more. But the consumer pattern will come back. They will start buying. They will start shopping. It is on us, designers, brands, people who are providing to the consumer, that we need to think through, and we need to think through how we're making it, how we're producing it, where are we sourcing, what are we doing. Before this, I wasn't thinking. I really wasn't thinking. I wasn't thinking about the carbon footprint. I wasn't thinking about how sustainable it is. And now it has hit me so hard that I'm like, I want to be a proud Indian brand. I've always been a proud Indian brand. I started sourcing locally. I have started sourcing. Literally, I have bought hand knitting machines now. It so happened that they got delivered literally 2-3 months before, and I started sampling. And I've been sourcing yarns from all over the country, and I had to ditch the idea of getting yarns from anywhere else. I've been sourcing yarns from Bangalore. I've been sourcing cottons from literally everywhere. So it's how I have started changing my thought process, that I need to provide them what is so beautifully made here. We have just completely ignored it, completely and completely. I'll tell you an example. I remember we were sitting in Pupuchakar Hall. I remember Chanel had opened a boutique back then in the hotel, Imperial Hotel, and some 2 ladies had come down to open up the store, and you guys had called them in to give us a lecture. They came in, and that advice is embedded in me till date. They told me, you guys have amazing surfaces, beautiful textiles. What you guys lack is cut. And I literally from there on went to study to Italy to understand what a good cut is. And that is what we lack in general. We have everything what it takes, but we don't understand where the right cut lies. So we can package our aesthetics, our beautiful aesthetics, into any possible way if we sort of imbibe that right cut in. So yeah, I mean, coming back to the point, I have been thinking intrinsically a lot, and I have been thinking, how do I make things more sustainable? And honestly, 90% of the consumers will not change. They will go back to buying what we are selling them. But what are we selling them is what we have to think. That's what I feel we need to do. And I know a lot of panelists here do work with sustainable fabrics, but I wasn't thinking in that direction. So now I have also moved towards that direction, becoming even more prouder. I started sourcing trims. They were sourced from China before. I started speaking to trim manufacturers within the country. I might have to pay a premium, but I think I do pay import duties too. So I'll be fine with that. Yeah.
So Shivan, do you think, like we're all talking digital platforms on the rise, do you think the digital platform is also going to be one of the platforms for the luxury sector, or you totally rule that out?
No, of course not. Digital has been a major part of our journey. Honestly, Naresh handles that part better. And he has literally from the start been, as everybody was saying, storytelling. We have been storytelling since the inception of the brand. We believe in the idea of storytelling. We know that if we are a holiday brand, we need to live that lifestyle. And we've been doing that. We've been extensively traveling. We've been shooting our campaigns world over. And that story has been deeply embedded in us since we started the brand, that we are a holiday lifestyle brand. We need to live that. We need to project that. And we've been doing that forever. And also one other advice being on digital was that as soon as we put a camera to a garment, sometimes it falls flat. And we started discarding those things away, that, you know, if it does not look good on the website, it will not sell. So we started bringing out things which, that's why we do so many graphics, so many colors, because it stands out and that sells very easily. So it's very important, as soon as you make or design something, put a camera around it and click it, see what it looks like. Would it sell online? And that's been a major idea since we started, or so to say, about 6 years, 7 years back when we launched the website. And we've been thinking like that. If it doesn't look good on the camera, it's probably not gonna catch attention till the time somebody walks into the store, sees the finer details and places an order. So digital has been absolutely foremost for us since we've been doing it.
Shivan, we've seen you as a student and we now see you as an entrepreneur of an aspirational brand, which I think most of the millennials, they are totally awestruck. So I want you to now give us some tips to the students out here. What should they be working on, the skill sets during this lean time, when they have that kind of time with them to become good professionals later in their life? Because, you know, I've known you as a student. You've been really picking up every small opportunity that comes your way, and you've made the best use of that opportunity. I really want to hear from you. What can you tell these students?
I mean, honestly, between me and Naresh, we would get an opportunity in terms of a competition gets announced in the college, and we would be like, okay, we need to send the entry. We don't care, because, okay, the one thing is winning it, but the other thing is getting the tickets to travel to a different part of the globe. And we left no opportunity. We literally took part, and you guys know that we've traveled quite a bit during the time in our college. So I was not so to say, like, you know, I knew that I had the skill set, but I did not necessarily want to take part in a competition. But I know that Naresh pushed me. He's like, no, we must take part. I realized that it is about just putting your thought process out, just sketching that idea in. So for me, illustration was a very, very big part of how I became who I became. So I started like honing my skill in illustration, and because that is one tool which I feel communicates what's going on in your head. So I feel a person who is able to hone that skill very well is great. The other thing I would say is that know your niche, start hitting from the very beginning. We knew that we are good with swimwear, and we just started doing it, also realizing there was a big gap. Nobody was doing swimwear in the country. So we launched the brand. So as Pratima said, that, you know, pick up a craft and just keep, if not reinventing, would be a big word, but just keep understanding what are the finer nuances. How can we really bring it up? Like, I really feel there's so much potential in the country. These crafts sometimes look redundant. Sometimes only we can appreciate the finer details, but how do we bring about, as designers, you have taught us how to do that intervention, and just that little smart, little intelligent detail can bring that craft out in the open. Like, it's just that very small detail that can really bring about in the forefront. So I would say, like, go back, if the student is probably having a cluster around in their villages, cities, go back, visit those clusters, see what you can help them with, because that itself will do so much. I remember we went to Chamba and did the Chamba chappals. They did not know how to color the chappals, and we learned it in college, and we said, okay, there are the colors available here. Just you're using simple vegetable dyed leather. Why don't you just color them? And they started coloring them, and I remember the guy was very thankful that we introduced them that technique. It was a simple technique. So just do that little bit of smaller interventions that can really make that product slightly more on the forefront.
Thank you, Shivan. I think that was very, very insightful and very good advice that I hope our students would be taking on. I now invite Himanshu. Himanshu, you've been working at the grassroots level with weavers and artisans. You've also developed a very keen sense of storytelling that represents an ideology. Voices from the industry feel that the industry is moving towards fewer, smaller, and more seasonless collections, something which a couple of our panelists have also mentioned. Along with this shift, another major shift is that fashion is or will move towards a greener and more fairer future, which is more ethical. And it would be a more conscious consumer who would be driving this change. So, what values do you think that a luxury fashion brand should hold on to post-pandemic times to reach out to grassroots workers who've been the real sufferers during this period and need the maximum help?
Hi everyone. I mean, it is a very important time for brands to sustain, and I think it's a very important time to find ways to keep the momentum going for artisans. I think luxury fashion, and which is made in India, to me it lies in the indigenous practices of India, which is very important to understand and accept it. And the strength of the country is in these practices and with these artisans. I think, yeah, it is a difficult time, but it is the best time for the new initiatives and the developments. The pace is right. And as we, there are many developments are going on as we're talking. I'm sure people across the globe, very different thoughts have been coming. I believe that the true Indian luxury will be seen in the coming years, and in this time will be used in the best way. For me, as other panelists were saying, for me, I think it's going to be much better and much bigger in the coming 1 year's time. As Shivin was saying, things will be bouncing back, and it will be bouncing back in a bigger way, in a good way. It might take a year's time before it gets back to, to a normal pace. We work with artisans directly and in different parts of India, and it's important, for us to find ways to keep engagement with them. And a lot of new initiatives, we had to start doing it even while we were in the lockdown, and we wanted to keep the momentum on, because these artisans are not actually in the lockdown because they work from home. It actually is us who are in the urban areas who are. For them, it is the normal what they do from being at home. So it was for us very important to keep the momentum on, and we had to initiate new thoughts and new ideas which started coming because the pace was very right. And new spinning ideas coming up with new yarn developments, new fabric developments. There are a lot of new home developments which has been initiated. Trying to use, we have this whole reclaim line of accessories. So we working more on reusing our fabrics and trying to build our reclaim line bigger. So yeah, I think it's the best time where the luxury will kind of kick in to find the new ways with these artisans.
So Himanshu, in the current scenario, supposing there are students who are wanting to get to that grassroots level. Again, the same question. Do you think this is the right time? One, because you are saying that they are working from home and they already are waiting that we get back to them and we give them some kind of livelihoods. So how do you see that scenario happening?
I think in the Indian education system, which I have been kind of questioning, and I have been teaching, trying to give around 3 to 4 months in a year where I try to teach and be with the students. What I've realized and what I've learned through my journey, I think 60% of the time the student should spend not in the campus, but on the field. And this is the best time. This is the best time to to get out there and to be there with the artisans, not as a designer. I mean, you have that skill set, or you are bringing in that skill set, but you go there as a human and you try to work with them at any level, and and they will welcome all of them. It's not about earning money, but it's about learning and mastering something, and to spend that time of 6 to 9 months, not just to go and do a trailer of learning that craft, but to station there. And it's about everything. It's about living the lifestyle. So when I say luxury, for me, it's in this indigenous craft. It's, many of these craftsmen have their own land. They grow their own vegetables. They live their life there, and they make their own things. And that's what luxury is. And this is what one needs to learn as in urban spaces when you're going there and working. And I think for students, it will be the best thing to do. When you're going there, you're learning with them. They will welcome everybody, start from everything, bring your inputs in, and something very beautiful will come out. It is the right time even to do your developments. It is the right time to even start doing whatever you wanted to do and start working on it, and take this time to build that up, because you have this time. You don't need to go out tomorrow and do that fashion week which is coming, or XYZ exhibition which is coming, but you spend time to develop it and work on it and learn that skill. Craft is a skill and you need to learn that. We end up being not master of something, we know things. So I think it's important to master something, like very well, Pratima talked about it. It's important to dive it deeper into it and to do that. There are a few things I would add here is something I want to talk about, that in this whole conscious industry where the consciousness is growing of people who are buying, and it will keep growing from last few years. But it's important for a brand and a designer to build something original, and to find that. And I think India is struggling in a big way to find that originality. I mean, that is one of the things that, India has never been successful in building a brand which is globally known, like how we have been using brand across the country from all over the world. I don't see one brand which is all over the world which has been going. And one of the reasons are, I mean, there are various aspects, but yeah, one thing is to bring that originality and to build that up. And it takes time. It cannot happen overnight. And which is required to follow. I mean, in one of the big brands like Patagonia, one example I wanted to give this, in this whole conscious industry talking about sustainability, in 2011, they went out and, the owners were talking on their tables, and they were deciding, why are we producing so much when, why are we just keep producing and giving it? And they wanted to question this whole thing of buying. And they went out with in the next season in 2011, and they wrote on every product, you don't buy until and unless you're really in need of buying that product. And which was a very strong statement. It can go completely kill the brand. Very interestingly, the turnover kind of went up that year. So, I mean, consciously people bought it, what it triggered, that's a whole another scene. But it's important to take certain decisions and kind of, and go out. And this is, I think, the best time, because everybody is kind of restarting. For student, I think is the best time to learn more, and it is important to go and spend time there outside. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for the insight, Himanshu. I'm sure the students and the young professionals would definitely have taken a lot of your advice to heart. I invite Jatin. Jatin, well, I'll start with a little of a thought that virtual reality is going to be the new reality moving forward. A great online experience is what's going to attract customers. So brands and companies will have to innovate and focus more on digital and virtual experiences. We expect to see a lot more in terms of virtual shopping stores with models trying on clothes through screens and a lot others. With AI also taking over, there's going to be a lot in terms of technology and in the virtual world. Definitely, there's going to be renewed revolution in the digital era. with new technologies and new applications. So Jatin, what do you think would the luxury sector, it should do to stay relevant to their customers? You being an influencer and somebody who understands social media.
Yeah, so actually, when I was listening to everyone, I got my answer from that itself. I think everyone made a point where digitalization is something which definitely is it has always been there. It's not that suddenly we all just realize it's there. I think Puneet just made a comment with saying that reinventing the entire luxury segment, which talks about how we all had all these things which are there, which we are using right now, but we never used it in the right manner when past in the past. So definitely digital world is something which has been there. It's very strong, and the way we need to use it right now is something which a lot of premium brands have been using it in the past. So we have a lot of digital platforms these days where people talk about a lot of bespoke services which are given to premium customers, and premium brands get it on board already. And if that is something which luxury segment starts as well, because see, luxury is all about experiencing it when you go out to the stores and when you go to the to see it yourself. That is something which you need to experience yourself. Now that time is not there where we go and see it ourselves or touch it or feel it. So there comes the digital world. And that, like yesterday itself, Hermes did a 2021 spring summer collection, which was on live stream, where they showed the entire collection in a very detailed way. So similarly, I think what I see is that Indian luxury market is it's somewhere, I feel that it's not that on par with the digital world. Like, we don't see a lot of live streams where people talk about the details, where there is a one-on-one interaction with the customers, with the clientele, which is the top client for the brands. So that is something which is missing, which is right now is the time to bridge the link, where you can definitely get on with the using all these platforms which we have. At the same time, we already have a lot of online sites which are selling well, and they are really doing great. Uh, Getting onto those as a high-end brand is something which will definitely bridge this gap. You can like a lot of brands which are already, like, I'm talking about the premium brands right now. Luxury is obviously not there, but I think this is the time where we can definitely get on these the luxury brands on board on these sites which are available. So this is something which definitely would help. Another point I think which is made by everyone is going local and using the sustainable fashion. I think that is something which will definitely, I'm sure everyone has already started, working on it, and that's something which will help, because right now everyone is all about to go green, and understanding the entire situation right now. Being relevant is all about being in the luxury sector or any other sector. It's all about being relevant. Everyone online or on social media, we all want to see how you are being relevant in the today's situation. So even if you are creating masks, or even if you're creating those PPE kits, how exactly is any brand contributing to the entire pandemic situation right now? And that's where I think this consideration of the entire situation is something which will definitely bring luxury into the entire situation in a very well way. So that's something I think we should, every brand should, I'm sure has already started, but have to do in more depth. I think that has to be taken care of.
Jatin, we've seen in the past the students, many NIFT students, they start their journey very happily. When they join the industry, they're very, very motivated. But very soon, something happens, and this dream just dies out, because they start feeling that the work in the industry is too repetitive or monotonous, and it's not something that they are able to get motivated to be, in the business. So as an influencer, I want you to address this particular point with the Niftians out here.
Okay. I think, yes, this is definitely a point. And I have seen it with my friends, with my juniors. And this is quite a trend actually when it comes to millennials, that, they go out in the industry, they start very happily, and then it's somewhere it goes down the line and they start feeling that it's not working out, or they're bored, they're not creative enough, the company is not giving them the right opportunity to use their creativity. So that happens a lot. And Himanshu made a point in the last segment that students need to spend a lot more time in the industry since the start, not just suddenly when they just come out of the college and then they start experiencing it all. So this spending time in the industry, even from the start, like, we all have these craft clusters and internships, everything there, but they're very, I'm sure now it might have changed. It was pretty old when I used to do that, but now I think it's much more required for them to be in the industry to see from the start like how exactly it works, because we definitely go with a very different mindset when we go, and we will be like, okay, we are going to change the entire industry, which is just like 1 month. That's what I have seen in a lot of Niftians when I meet them now as well. So definitely one thing is the exposure. Second thing, I would say, which worked with me when I was working as in Titan Industries, is that understanding your niche is something which is really important. So if you understand your niche, it's okay to jump from company to company to grow yourself. It's fine, but make sure that it's, see, a lot of times it happens that you want to do one field and suddenly you get bored of the entire field and you want to change the field completely. Now that is something where I think students get a little bit confused. Now this did not work out, so how do I now go to the next step? That is somewhere they need to understand, even if they're changing backgrounds, it should be connected in a way. So how I changed from VM to styling, they're kind of very connected. It helped me to grow as a professional when I worked in visual merchandising for 6 years, and then I changed to styling. That was somewhere it helped me to connect that bridge of VM and styling, because they both go hand in hand. So that is something which helped me, and I'm sure then I moved to social media, and that's where I started blogging, and the styling and everything helped me in that. So that's where I think the entire the new students and everyone, the professionals who are coming out, they need to be a little bit more patient and understand the entire industry dynamics, and understand your niche and stick to it. And I think that should be the way to go.
Thank you, Jatin. Thanks a lot for that insight. I think that would have helped a lot of students, at least, when they start planning for what they're going to do. I'd now like to thank all the panelists. Thank you, Sahil. Thank you, Mr. Mangla. Thank you, Pratima. Thank you, Shivan. Thank you, Himanshu. And thank you, Jatin, for sharing your insights on some very crucial issues concerning both the luxury industry as well as students who are, our major audience today. The webinar, we hope that it has been able to throw some light on the retail sector for fashion, apparel, and luxury, the couture and the craft sector. And we feel we've pretty much covered most of it in our talk with our experts. It's been a pleasure to hear all of you, and we hope that we have another audience with all of you, which would enrich our experience even further. So with this, we would like to say thank you and bye to all our panelists and all our audience. And God bless and stay safe, all of you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Guys. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.